And so was my life set on a false course, which is another reason why I'm telling you all this ancient matter. For lust will languish, and its heat decay, says Petronius Arbiter. You'll recall that from the class we had on Renaissance translations from the Latin masters. One of my rare B grades, I think. And it's so true. By the time I marched up the aisle with Suzanne, my attachment was more than half guilt. But I thought I could fix that somehow, through fidelity, through affection, and somehow lay the curse my father had passed on. Unfortunately, it turns out the habit of self-betrayal tends to spread. It pollutes the other parts of life, in my case my painting, and it acts as a marker for others, like those cruel experiments where they paint a monkey green and the other monkeys tear it to pieces. If you're false to yourself, I think, other people will find it easier to be false to you. I mean, there's no one there to begin with, so what's the big deal? It's a shame, in a way, that I didn't actually tape my life like old crap did. The present effort is not an adequate substitute because, how should I put this? I'm not entirely sure who I am anymore. Maybe that was Beckett's point in his play, that none of us are anyone anymore. We're all hollow men, heads filled with straw, as Eliot says in the poem, colonized by the media, cut off from the sources of real life. Why art with any soul in it is grinding to a halt. So let's run through my life from then quickly, because it's not much fun for me, and also, I have to say, because it may or may not be my life. But stay with me here. Okay. The girlfriend's pregnant. We go to visit the parents in Wilmington. Max, the dad, is a big, jovial slab of beef. Nadine, the mom, is a slightly withered Southern ex-belle. They're not pleased with the catch, I detect, but they're resigned, whatever the little girl wants. Max takes me aside, asks how I'm going to support Suzanne in the manner to which she's become accustomed. And I say I intend to work as an artist. And he goes, "Lots of luck, Sonny. Hope you intend to be a commercial artist because you're buying into a high-maintenance package. Don't be fooled by the bohemian styling." We got married anyway and lived in the loft and had the baby, which was Toby. The fact is, me and Suzanne should have been 3 hot weeks in a Spanish hotel room, not a 10-year marriage, although you can build a lot of plans on guilt. It was going to be great, I thought, the opposite of my parents' marriage, or her parents' marriage, and we were going to be artists together. That was the basis, really, a life together in art. Then it turned out that for whatever reason I wasn't going to be the hot young painter of the season, and she was not going to be one of the defining singer-songwriters of that decade. And the funny thing is, despite our mutual mediocrity, we both made a shitload of money for a while, which muffled the pain, as it often does. I could barely keep up with the ad work, and she had one of her songs covered by the thrush of the moment, and it was a top 40 hit for a while. Terrible song. I still hear it now and then if there's a radio tune to an oldies station. All her songs anodyne and slightly sappy, tinkly, no real juice, easily distinguished from Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, etc. Like my painting, unfortunately. Then, because she said you can't raise a kid out of a loft in Soho, we bought a house in the country, a 4-bedroom in Nyack on 3.5 acres with a barn. God alone knows what it's worth now, but way back then those big houses were going for $150,000, $200,000, which seemed like a lot of money, and I started to work all week in the city, and I should have been the one to have affairs. I mean, come on. I was rich in New York, and that was the era for it, but I never did. Not once. Guilt again, probably. No, yet another example of schmuckhood. Mark was burning up the bedsheets during that time, and he used to invite me along to the meat markets downtown, but no, I was the opposite of Dad in that respect. I was just like Mom. It actually took me years to catch on about what Suzanne was doing. I thought I had an okay marriage until one evening she got drunker than usual and set me right with the list of guys. Somewhere in those years she gave up music, decided clay was more her thing, then printmaking, then book design, then video, then back to clay, but at a higher level. She wrote a play, too, and film scripts, and all-around artistic-type Suze. No focus in any of them, just a desperate desire to be in a scene. be noticed. Or so I think, but I have no idea who she is. Late for the Sky, that Jackson Browne song from the days when we thought rock lyrics held the key to all mysteries. I still think about her when they play it on the oldies. I have to say, I can't carry the freight for the breakup of my first marriage. I don't have it in me to be the complacent husband. I might have looked the other way for a long time, like they do in Cheever stories. Sophisticated and all that, cool. But she brought the guys into the house, into our bed, and they were universally scuzzballs. Bartenders, drifters, arty fakes, lawn guys with rusted-out pickup trucks. I'd come home on Friday after a week in the city, and there'd be some gap-toothed skinny asshole on my deck drinking my booze, her new friend. And one week I just didn't bother coming back. And that was it. I guess my first marriage was based on a secret deal. I would take care of her and she could do what she wanted, and I would always be there when she got tired of it. But in the end I couldn't. And the reason I have to say was I just didn't care for what she produced. The sad fact is that only the great artists have different rules, and the Potzers have to live like everyone else or settle for being pathetic. As for Toby, all there is now is a kind of helpless sorrow, although why should I feel sorry for someone who's doing a lot better than his dad? A pillar of the community in his church, 3 lovely children he's never introduced me to. No, I don't think I want to go there. Although it was really amazing, as soon as he developed a personality, he rejected everything I was. I mean, he actually broke crayons deliberately, snap, 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 and left good drawing paper out in the rain, and ruined the expensive German markers I bought him, and he fixated on my first father-in-law. And Max just took him over and raised him according to his strict principles, which hadn't taken all that well with Suzanne, but did for her son. And the kid went out for football in high school and was a quarterback and went to Purdue just like Granddad and was a star there just like, and became an engineer, ditto. Each year I get a dutiful Christmas card with the beautiful family depicted thereupon. A pleasant-looking group of strangers. So then back into wonderful singlehood, until I met Lottie, and we got married, and we had Milo and Rose, and then split up. For a while I thought Lottie would save me, because I could speak to her in a way I could never speak to Suzanne, and I thought I could store the real Chaz kind of in her, like a constant mirror. She has a Memorex-like memory. Never forgot a conversation or a dream, or one of my many fuck-ups. Maddening, actually, when I think about it. You can't do that to another person, however much they might love you. No substitute for the true self. Making this recording, together with what remains of my memory after all the dope I sucked into my system while I was with her, and what happened with Zubkov and later, I have to admit what I did to her. Basically, I walked whistling into my father's tomb, just like I said I was never going to do. And it broke her. The poison leaked into her the way it leaked into my mother. I think it's why she betrayed me in the end, the most honest and decent person I ever met. And she was right to do it, too.